Yes.
Mize,
Yes.
Munoz,
Yes.
Tyler,
Yes.
and Wald. Yes.
Okay. We're here tonight to address the shortfall the school is experiencing for the 19-20 school year and talk about the budget for the 2021. As a board and the administration, we're all frustrated with the shortfall. At the last meeting, it was asked why the school got into this financial situation, and let's remember this. So how'd this happen? These are some of the things. This winter, we had a boiler go out. Insurance did not pay for about $15,000 of that. This fall, I brought to the board when I received my property tax statement, an error must have been made on the school property tax as the tax went down. After discussion, the budget, when the board looked at the budget that was submitted, we found 13.1 mils for special reserve and high school tuition had been omitted. This was going to be corrected with a revised certificate of levy. Months later, it was discovered the county rejected the certificate of levy. The school had our attorney meet with the county with no success, and I personally met with the Ward County Auditor, Ward County State's Attorney, with no success in the county accepting the certificate of levy. This cost the school approximately $142,000. The previous superintendent accepted responsibility of the error. Our only option was to go to the voters to ask for a tax increase, but no motion was made to do this. These files here are all the emails that went back and forth, forms filled out with the county to try to get the tax levy approved, and they would not budge on that. Our previous superintendent, who we are all praying for, could not work due to the health issues after the first of the year. Mr. Girding and Mrs. Hanson took on the duties of running the school along with others. Mr. Girding's contract was extended 20 days in June to run the school, which he was paid for. This was not a bonus as portrayed in social media. Mr. Girding sent us 2 pages of mistakes made by the previous business manager in which Twyla has worked very hard to correct. The errors cost the school money, of which was over $58,000 in IRS fines. Prior to this happening, a business manager at the school pleaded guilty to embezzling money, which the school did get some of the money back. Then we have the COVID pandemic, which we were promised federal dollars that the school has not received as of yet. Early on, the administration indicated they thought we would still be okay money-wise. So yes, let's remember how we got here and work as a group to resolve the shortfall. Mr. Girding also presented money savings in the future to us yesterday. As of now, we're going to save a little over $47,000 in administration restructuring, almost $91,000 in business math restructuring, Title I retirement restructuring over $100,000, kitchen and staff restructuring over $79,000, for a total savings for the next school year of almost $318,000.
How much?
$318,000.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Girding, Mrs. Hanson, and Twyla have been working very hard to get us back on track. At the last meeting, there were accusations made against me as board president that I ignored warnings of a shortfall, along with other accusations. I feel it necessary to present some information that is not true. I received an email from a board member March 5th showing and projecting what the school shortfall was going to be. And it is pretty accurate as to what did happen. The very next morning, I did send these to all the other board members on March 6th. I also sent an email back to the board member that initiated the email stating I did forward this to the other members, and I had also forwarded to Twyla the 5-year facilities plan, which showed $130,000 of projects that were going to be done this school year. We had her check on what had been done, and what was left to do, because the items that were left to do, we were not going to do those.
But they weren't included in the budget. We discussed that in that email, right?
Yes, we also talked about whether or not they were included in the budget. So the fact is, I did not ignore the email. On April 6th, I sent 9 pages of information with foundation aid information showing projected money coming to the school. In 2018, 2019, we actually got about 58,000 more that was projected. 19, 20, and 2021 show state projections, and I believe Mr. Girding will have some figures that show what we're actually going to get.
I'm sorry,
So I-
can you repeat that 2018 and 2019? You're talking budgeted revenue?
Foundation aid.
Oh, foundation aid.
On May 20th, I received an email that we were going to meet with First International Bank. I received this in the evening. I was in the field. I sent it to the other board member the very next morning at 7:07, informing of the meeting. I don't know why the other board member wasn't included from the school one, but I did forward it stating I had been out in the field and had received it to inform them of the meeting. June 8th, I received an email from a board member. This person had talked to the state and got a lot of good information on the issue of our shortfall and other items. Again, I have copies here where I forwarded all these emails to the board members. 5 minutes later, and then I conversed back to that board member that I had forwarded all this to the other board members. So I did not ignore the information that was sent. It was also stated it was ignored to do a reduction in force. We discussed this at length at one of the board meetings, and it was found that we would have to cut programs and cut class offerings to do a reduction in force. There was no board motion made to do a reduction in force. We talked about trying to combine some duties, trying to reconstruct positions, trying to not fill some things through retirement and achieve additional savings. I have talked to Mr. Gurney several times about combining positions. Do we need to fill this one? Do we need to fill that one? The result of all these, the result of talking about reduction in force, Mr. Girding has reached to the previous figures I showed of $318,000. So we didn't officially go through a reduction in force, but he's done what we've asked him by combining positions and restructuring. So again, reduction in force was not ignored. We're all frustrated with the shortfall. And the things that have happened now as a group, we need to come up with a solution. And the administration and Twyla have done a great job getting us on the right direction.
I agree with that 100%. And thanks again. Thank you, Twyla.
Thanks, Twyla.
So with that, Twyla sent out budget information.
We were short, though, revenue $236,000 in 2018, 2019, budgeted revenue. And you can't ignore that. I didn't,
Nobody's ignoring that.
well, it wasn't in your mention about why we're short. And that's truly a contributing factor.
I just
A
mentioned
large
some of the
contributing
reasons
factor.
why.
Okay, well, that's a pretty large one.
We all know we're short, so we have to come up with solutions. I, as a board president, cannot make motions and second motions. We need to have ideas and motions presented that we can agree on that we need to do.
And we can't go backwards in time. We can't go back and see why we were short revenue or what could have happened. What has happened
What can we
has
do to fix
happened.
it?
All we can do is go forward and not let it happen anymore, as much as we can control it. We can't control it.
We
And
can't control the past, but we can control how we think about the future.
But
So,
we still can't control every penny of revenue that we budget that we're going to get.
well, we control almost all of it. That's the unique thing about government,
No,
is
it's,
that we do know the revenue.
it's not.
Twyla, how are you saying that? The government tells us how much we're getting.
Well, just for example, Nicole, I think you're right, but when we negotiated 2 years ago,
That's the
They
expense
were-
side.
they were,
No, based on
they
revenue.
projected that the state aid was gonna be 232,000 more than what we're gonna get, and this year we're only gonna get 58,000, so that's a lot of money that we're not gonna get this year. But I know what you're saying.
But this, as of right now, we should know our revenue for next year.
And we do. We got it.
Yeah,
We have it
But
projected what we're
But it
hoping
could
to
be
get.
short.
and my point is that we need to budget correctly so that when we spend, because you're right, the only control that the board has is over spending. We don't have any control over the revenue. And so because of that, we have to know the revenue coming in. And because we are not a business, we are a government entity, we actually do know those numbers. So we do really depend on those numbers to be right and to be accurate.
I think you're right, Nicole, and that's why the new budget that we have, if you can look at it right now, I don't know if you want to look at it right now, but we have the revenue side and we have the expenditures. And Twyla and I have been working nonstop for days and days, and we really feel that we have a great budget. We even have room to pay for the loan. And we just really don't have much room to spare. We don't, but I really feel if you look at the.
I did look at it, I looked at it quite a bit.
And it took a long time. I mean, we looked at, we did numbers, we redid numbers, but I think this is a really solid. And we worked, like, with the teachers, we're to the penny where it's supposed to be budgeted. And with the ancillary staff, we did a lot of work and it came out really well.
If
I
you,
was really nervous with the with the new monies that we thought we're gonna get, and we're only gonna get 58,000. I was really nervous, even if we're gonna have a good budget, but I think we have a solid budget.
if you look at the per pupil aid on their budget, they're projecting 3.8 million and $33,000. When we negotiated in good faith with the teachers, we did that, I and Dustin did that based off the projections from the state. And it showed we were gonna get $4,100,000, about 232,000 more. And that's what we negotiated off of. Well, that's $200,000 difference.
Well, and so that's one of the things that I was so upset about, because you and I have had this conversation before, because I've asked you, and you have conveyed that question to both Mrs. Ganser and Mr. Voiles, not to Mr. Girding, but about how sure and how positive we were that number.
Well, when we negotiated, we thought those numbers were,
Exactly.
True.
And up until April, actually, up until that last phone call that you made to me after the meeting with the bank, that was the first indication I had that was not the number.
well, it was,
And I'm not blaming you for it. I'm saying that I've asked that question. I keep asking those questions. And if we do budget before June, then we know and we can make a plan for the next year. And we can say, great, we can hire more teachers. We have to cut teachers. We have to cut ancillary staff. We have to do something. We have to have a plan before we're obligated.
the problem is, it's 3.8 million in here. That's still not going to be the figure we get.
Well, it should be. It should
No,
be.
it won't be.
It won't be.
Definitely not.
It won't be.
It'll be close, but it's.
It's based on 2019 or 2020 enrollment. It's not based on next year's enrollment. So those numbers should be pretty solid. This year, I see that we were off $29,000. I'm not sure why that is, but we were off $29,000 in the per pupil aid. It's a pretty small amount. I mean, considering the amount that we're supposed to get, but
I would think that would be just the difference in students from one year to the next, that small amount, but.
But it's not, because it's based on the prior year. So we know how many students we had last year. That number doesn't change.
Another thing with the taxable value, 2 weeks ago, Twyla told me that we were gonna have 10 million for Ward County.
Mhm.
Comes to me today, it's 9 million.
Mhm.
And I'm like, wow, that's
That's a
lot of
big
money.
difference,
Difference.
You know,
huge
it's just in
difference.
a week. And I'm
And
like-
it's gonna change.
And I'm like, wow,
Again.
that's $100 and some thousand. I'm like, wow, how are we gonna get that?
Yeah.
You know, so, yeah, that changes often, and when we get that money, we don't know either, you know? So, but I really feel that budget is a solid budget with room for the loan payment.
don't buy the Title I funds are $37,000 less than last year.
Oh, no, we combine those two. We take the Title I, Title II, Title IV and combine them. And that's the two combined. So they'll reach almost 90,000 on there.
Okay.
Is it 89 or
Mhm.
90 something?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
And that'll be done after the consolidated app, all that stuff is done, then and we can consolidate all those funds, but not till then. And that's what we did last year to come up with that numbers. We put all those funds together.
Sure. Yeah, good.
So I don't know if you guys had gotten in, I did ask Twyla how much more money we have coming in that wasn't accounted for in her spreadsheet. She did show me that we have another $60,474 that we're supposed to get. But whether that'll be by July 1 or not,
I
I
think
don't know.
the
So,
lump sum of it, the two reimbursements for the CTE and the tuition, we will get for sure by the end of June.
For the tuition, what reimbursements for tuition?
Yep,
What reimbursements? do
for
we get?
special education.
Oh, for special education.
Are they behind at all because of this whole COVID?
No, but everybody waits till the last time to spend all their money.
Sure.
So, but they do count on the other school getting it at the same time before the end of the month.
one other
The
option,
CTE The CTE check is in the mail. We called today. They were cutting today, either in the mail today or tomorrow. That
How much
sure
is
is
that?
coming.
34,000, or no,
23,000.
23,165.
Then we can also borrow that $50,000 that's left in the special reserve.
Right.
account. So you said that was 23?
23,165.
So between the 23,165 and the 50,000, then we should only have to borrow 300? Is that right?
what was the figures, 58, 50, what?
23,165 for CTE.
And the special reserve had how much
Oh,
left?
I don't even have the balance
I believe
sheet.
it's 50,000. I'll look at it quick right now.
So could we get by with 300?
If we want to transfer that special reserve, we could.
Yeah, the special reserve has 51,000.
It's a little more than that now because we have property taxes from
Oh.
June,
Sure. Oh, this is, but yeah, it should be around.
May. If you look at May's, it's still a little bit more than that.
I could have to pay that back though.
I can send you the exact figure tomorrow in the morning.
Mr. Green, when you did the revenue budget, I forgot to ask you, did you include that tuition we can collect,
Yes.
we can levy for last year and this year? Are we accounting for that separately? Are we going to account for that separately?
Isn't it? It's in the revenue.
Okay.
Well, I don't
But our
understand when
expenses-
you say we can levy for last year and this year.
So our estimated, we're supposed to account for that account separately. So all the revenue and all the expenses. So we can only levy for the expenses that we incur and are estimated for this year. And so whatever we estimate for this year, and then we can do last year's, because we didn't ever collect on that. And then we should reconcile them every year. And then we need to account for that difference. So if we got more money, then we can't levy for that in the following year. If we were short, then we can levy for that.
Okay.
You know, that was one other thing we talked about was going back because of the mistake on the mill levy. But at the time, we felt everybody was getting their tax bill and it was going to be too much confusion as to, okay, we're asking for more, so. The only other option to borrowing money to fund the shortfall is to reopen. And I hate to even mention it, but you could possibly reopen teacher negotiations. But you're gonna go through a 2-week period where they can go wherever they want. Right now, they're under contract. I don't look as that as an option.
I don't want to touch.
I was gonna say, I
salaries.
don't think that's the best idea at this point.
No. I just wanted to make you aware of that.
Yeah,
Thank you.
I'd rather sell the land across the street.
I agree with you on that one.
I might have mentioned that a couple times.
Oh, have you? Well, hopefully they're not watching, they don't know. where
They'd have to triple their price and we'd be okay, right?
Right.
Yeah, I mean, we'll start at quadruple and see if they come down. to triple.
I mean, price is
You can always
negotiable.
go down, you can never go back up.
Uh,
So based on Mr. Girding's figures, are we in agreement that we need to go ahead with a loan to get us through?
I think we definitely need a loan. I think
I-
now we just need to figure out how much that loan needs.
I'm on the same page as I was last meeting. I still think we need to, yes.
So would we does everybody have the First International Bank sheet with the options on there?
We do, yeah.
So if you look at, oh, sorry.
Sorry,
Dustin.
Dustin.
If you look at the 300,000 figure with those your options, is that probably where we're at?
I think that's where we're at, if you're asking me. I mean,
Well, I'm asking everybody, so.
When you say the 300, are you including the transfer of the special reserve money?
Yeah.
We'll need a motion for that, just so you know.
Okay.
Okay.
The special reserve money is allocated for what, or is it just sitting there for times like this?
You can only use half of it in a year and borrow from it the rest of the time. And yeah, that's what it's there for, is to use, but you have to have the savings account all the time. So we already borrowed half of it.
Okay,
We do have to pay it back, but I don't think there's any interest or penalties, is there?
Right. And no one said any time frame. There's nothing in the code that says any time frame. We just have to have a note, so it would be a liability in one area and a receivable in the other.
but we'd be paying ourselves back,
Right.
so that's preferable. So that.
So if you look at the 3, 4, and 5 years, I believe when we met with Mr. Olson, he made the statement, you can prepay, pay early, no penalties. So, if you want to stretch it out, you can and pay. Say we have the extra money to pay, we can pay at any time.
I would
So,
rather do the 5 year. I know that's probably max for law, but that's gonna keep us from getting in a pinch later on. And like you said, if we're doing right, then we can pay it off early. And the difference, got a nifty little thing here now. I can't do math this bad.
It's only $8,000 difference.
For the life of the lawn, yeah, but yeah, it's a negligible difference monthly. It's like $30 a month difference, so.
Yeah. I assume these are annual payments though, or are they monthly payments?
Their annual payment.
Oh, are they?
Dustin, we're looking at a $300,000.
300,000 in a 3, 4, 5 year.
Yeah. The interest rate,
The first thing we do.
well, I would imagine a year from now.
Okay.
Interest rate is 4.45%.
Right.
Payment would be 68,400.
And you did say no penalties for paying early.
Correct. So we would need 2 motions. One would be to move the money out of the special reserve fund. The other would be whatever loan payment you guys feel you want to do.
Okay, well, I will start by saying that I'm going to make a motion to move the monies from the special reserved fund. And I know that we need a separate motion for that, but I guess that'd be a good time for us to finalize the special reserve fund so that we can move on with the 3, 4, or 5 year plan that we're going to go with and discuss it.
Okay, we have a motion to move the special reserve fund money into the general fund. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
When does that need to be paid back?
We have not found a date.
There's no
There
interest?
is no interest or time frame to repay the money. Because we're
I think
really,
that we probably should set a time frame on that as well.
we're borrowing our own money, basically, from
Right.
Fund 02.
But to pay it back, put it back into the savings account per se, I still think there needs to be a date assigned to that, just like it would be a loan.
Yeah, I don't think that hurts, Dustin. I mean, you never want to, that helps add some validity to it being an actual loan and not just a moving of cash. And so terms are always, a good idea when you're creating a loan, especially a related party. So I would agree with that.
So what would you suggest, Dustin?
I say we just tie it on to the same as the loan, so I know you want to get this out of the way first, but if we're going to go with a 4-year loan or a 5-year, I think we tie it to the same thing that the special reserve is paid back at the same time as the loan.
So are you saying like annual payments to the special reserve fund?
That's what I would say.
Okay,
That makes sense.
I agree.
Are we looking at 5 years? What are we looking
I
at
think
here?
5 years is gonna, I think we should. I think that's gonna give us wiggle room if we need it, and it doesn't hurt us if we pay it off early. We might give ourselves more generous terms for paying back the reserve fund, even if it would be twice as long, just so that we're not running, because right now, because of Mr. Gertie's and Ms. Twyla's hard work, we got a $22,000 surplus. But that's gonna get eaten up by.
We should have. the loan back.
89,000.
We should have 89,000.
No, so it's 89 surplus, but with this loan payment at 5 years, I'm sorry, yeah, I wasn't real clear, yeah. So with the loan payment, it'd be
Scared me for a second
$22,000.
there. Almost had to check my watch.
Yeah, sorry about that, guys.
Well, do you want to just tack on to your motion, payable over 5 years?
Yes, with the special reserve fund, we will make annual payments over the course of 5 years.
I would second that motion.
I haven't written your name for a long time, Dustin. Aberly,
Yes.
Mize,
Yes,
Munoz,
Yes,
Wald,
Yes.
Tyler, sorry,
Yes.
Daniel.
Okay, the last item is the terms of the loan. Anybody want to make a motion as to amount in years?
I'll motion that we borrow $300,000 over 5 years at the 4.45% interest rate.
I'll second it.
Okay, Aberly,
Yes.
Mize,
yes,
Munoz,
Yes,
Tyler,
Yes.
Wald,
Yes.
This rate might not be accurate, though.
I read that.
Okay, just
Yeah.
make sure that you guys know that.
it might be,
I'm hoping it goes lower.
hoping it'll be less.
Should we?
Yeah, I'm just letting you know it might be different.
I'm sure it's going to be quite close to that. It's not going to fluctuate too much.
So can I email you all in the morning
No.
what the amount is in the special reserve fund?
Yes,
'Cause
please
we
and
don't
thank
have a
you.
dollar amount attached to this motion.
Okay,
Is that agreeable?
It's fine with me as long as it works by law. Like, I don't, we can't motion through. But I mean, didn't your motion say the entire special reserve?
I think we can respond back individually, can't we?
But it doesn't count as a motion.
She
Oh.
said to transfer the funds from the special reserve account to the
So
cash
that
account.
would be
So
all
that
of
would
it.
be
All of it.
all of it.
I will make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
Go watch baseball.
I know.